Hello everyone, welcome to Automation Code Lab. In today's session, we'll understand OOPS concept in Python. So what exactly is OOPS, guys? So OOPS, I hope everyone knows the terminology, that is object-oriented programming. So it basically revolves around the object, basically. So what exactly is an object? As we discussed, object contains both our data and code. So data is a form of properties known as attributes, right? And code is form of methods, right, that we perform, or actions that we perform. So an object has basically two characteristics. One is attribute, second is behavior. And as we can see, guys, so we have various other core concepts into OOPS concept. That is, first we'll start with the encapsulation, right? So what exactly is an encapsulation, guys? So encapsulation is a wrapping of data and functions inside a single unit or single entity. So encapsulation means the internal representation of an object is generally hidden from the outside of the object's definition. So encapsulation basically acts like a protective layer where we can restrict the access of methods and variables from outside, and it can prevent the data from being modified by the accidental or unauthorized access. So encapsulation provides security by hiding the data from the outside world. Let us see an example, guys. Before that, I wanted to explain you guys what exactly a constructor is. So a constructor is basically a special type of method used to initialize an object of a class. So constructor will be executed automatically whenever the object is created. If we create three objects, it is going to be called thrice and initialize each of the object. And the main purpose of the constructor is to declare and initialize the instance variable. Now it can take at least one argument, that is self, means, and it will always be denoted as init method. Can you see in my screen? This is the init method. So this is a constructor for the class employee. Now constructor also can be of two types. One is called as default constructor, which wouldn't have any parameters. The second one, it will be called as parameterized constructor. So just to give you an example before we move ahead, so if you can see, we generally have various kinds of different variables. Or so what are the different kinds of variables that we have, guys? We have something called as a class variable and something called an instance variable. Now in my given example, if you can see, for class student, we have class variable known as ABC school. The school name is the variable name, and inside a constructor which is called an instance variable. So generally constructors are always used. Why exactly the constructors are used? To initialize the respective instance variables. Okay, so in this case, if we see self.name, we are going to, whenever we are going to create an object, we are going to pass these values. So these values are going to go ahead and initialize the respective attributes of the class. Now similarly, if we can see over here also, we have different types of methods. As we can see, one is a class method and one is a static method. So when generally whenever we give a decorator of class method and a static method, that automatically tells you whether this method is going to be a class method and static method. And how do we create an object, guys? We are going to create an object. For example, Jessa here is going to be an object, is equal to student. Student is the class name, and then you give the parameter. As this has a parameterized constructor, what are the two parameters, guys? We have name and age. So you're passing name as what? Jessa, and age as 12. So here it will go ahead and initialize the instance variable name and age. So after that, what we will see is we are going to invoke. Now from this object, we are going to invoke. What are we going to invoke, guys? We are going to invoke its respective method. So show is going to print. What is it going to print? It is going to print the name, age, and the school name. Okay. So that's about how to create an object. And how do we call a class using, how do we call the class method using the class? So we can simply use the class dot method name to invoke it, whereas for invoking it as through the object, we'll always use object dot method name. Okay, so static static basically static method can be called using class name dot method name, whereas for the non-static you will be using creating an object, and through that object you will be calling the respective class. I hope you guys are clear with the static and non-static methods. Okay, so let us go ahead and understand the respective concept in encapsulation. As you can see my screen, we have generally one public member. So generally, if you don't define anything, it is declared as public, like self.name is equal to name. And if you define two underscore, it basically means it is going to be a private member. So what exactly is a private member? That it cannot be accessible outside this employee class. Okay, it can be accessible inside this class. So in short, if I tell you how do we how to sum up encapsulation in one line, it is a property where you can access the private variables using the public methods. Okay, so what is the public method here? Here show is the public method, and what are you trying to return the salary? The salary is the private uh, private member of the class or a private variable, as you can see. So we are going to return the value through this public method. So over here, what do we see? We go ahead and create a object. Emp is an object on the class employee. So what will this line going to do? This is going to call the constructor and assign what the name is going to be assigned as Jessa, and salary is going to be assigned as 40,000. So the respective attributes get updated over here, and then through the object dot method, we are going to call the respective show method, and that is going to give us what? It is going to give us name is Jessa and salary is what? 40,000. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear. Okay, now if you can see, can you see my screen? We are getting an error here. Why? Because you cannot access the private member through the objects. As we said that private methods cannot be accessed outside. So just to give you an example that we cannot access, it will give you an error. Now in case if we go ahead and run, it is giving us the respective outcome. I hope you guys are clear on the encapsulation. Guys, now let us start to understand what exactly is polymorphism. So polymorphism OOP is basically an ability for an object to take many forms. So poly means many, and morphism means state. So which can exhibit more than one state is called as polymorphism. So we'll see an example. In my case, if you see, we have two class circle and rectangle. Both have their respective constructors defined. As we know, for circle, it takes the radius as an input, whereas for rectangle it takes length and width. And how do we calculate the area? The formula for circle is pi r square, whereas for the rectangle it is length into width. Now if you see the respective program, you can see the calculate area method is the same that is used in both the circle and rectangle class. Yes or no? So in this case, what are we going to do? We'll see. So based on the input that you're giving, our basically the same calling the same method would exhibit different outcome. So for example, if you see, we have defined another function area shape, and what are we doing? So basically in this shape, as an input parameter, we are calling, what are we calling? Calculate area. So let us see this. So let's say CIR is equal to circle of 5. What are we doing, guys? We are creating an object CIR, okay, on which class? Circle, and we are passing 5 as an input, right? So what do we mean? That radius, our radius is going to be what, guys? It is going to be 5. Now, and for rectangle, what are we doing? We are doing the same thing. We are creating an object rect, which is going to give call a constructor um, for the rectangle class, and the length is 10, width is 5. It is going to reinitialize the respective class or the instance variable. So as we go ahead and we call the area of CIR. Now, if you see, I'm calling area of the object CIR. So it goes ahead to that object. So what is this object? This object is created on the circle class. It will go ahead and call the circle class calculate area. So what it is it going to do? It is going to give us pi r square. And similarly, by invoking the respective object also, it will go ahead and give us the for the rectangle, will go ahead and give us the respective outcome. So if you can see the same method being used to use call various functionalities, because for the area, finding out the area is a common method, but the how do we find out the formula is different for circle as well as for the rectangle. Okay, so I hope this is clear for you guys. So basically, in this case, you can see the different like the same method can be used from different class, and just with a different set of parameters also, you can go ahead and show exhibit forms for it. So this is what it is for polymorphism. Now let us go ahead and understand inheritance, guys. So inheritance is very simple. So what exactly is inheritance, guys? Inheritance is the process of inheriting the properties of the parent class into a child class. So the main purpose for inheritance is the reusability of the code. So using inheritance, we can use the existing class to create a new class instead of recreating the class from scratch. As we can see in the current code, the class vehicle is the base class, okay, and it has one method or one function known as info, and it has a constructor where it is taking 3 parameters as part of the parameterized constructor: name, color, and price. And info is going to print the respective information for the name, color, and price. Whereas for car, if you can see, it is taking an input as a class. And which class is this? Vehicle. So this is how you come to know whether this is a child class and this is the respective parent class. Okay. And here we are saying the change gear method being used, which is taking one more parameter, no. And you can see name we are not defined as part of the car class, right? No, it hasn't been defined, but still it will go ahead and print the respective information along with the no attribute, which is the defined in the car class. So we go ahead and see, we create an object, car, on the car class. Okay, it will go ahead and do what, guys? Because this class doesn't has any constructor, it will go ahead and initialize the respective parent constructor and give the name as BMW, color as black, and price is 35,000. And car.info is going to call which, the parent method. Okay, so you can see through the object itself you are able to access the parent methods as well. So it will go ahead and print the name, color, and price. And the car, of course, the object can invoke its own methods also. So in this case, it will go ahead and invoke the change gear. So in our case, you can see for the inheritance over here, it is going to print the respective car information. This is being printed from the class method, and this is being parent based class method, and this is from the child class method, guys. So I hope you guys are clear. Guys, if you like the video, please go ahead to share, subscribe, and comment on this video. And please press the thumbs up button if you really want this content to come up ahead in the future series.